Going to the donkey sanctuary later on, so we thought we'd go through some of the differences between donkey feet and horse feet, and then we'll do some filming when we're down at the donkey sanctuary to show you some of those differences as well. But just to go through, there are 5 main physical differences between a donkey hoof and a horse hoof. 5 things that you can easily see just by looking at the outside of the hoof, and I've put them up here on the board. First of all, a donkey hoof tends to have a much more upright hoof pastern axis. The hoof pastern axis is the line that we draw down the front of the pastern and then going down onto the hoof. And you'll tend to see on a donkey it's much more upright, normally around 60 degrees or so. It's also very common to see a broken forward hoof pastern axis on a donkey, and that's almost considered normal. And that's where the hoof is more upright even than the pastern, so that the line going down is broken forward. That's very common on a donkey. Secondly, in a donkey hoof, the hoof wall is much thicker. So when you pick up the hoof, you'll see that there's more, the proportion of the distal border is hoof wall. And not only is it thicker, but as you look round from heel to toe, it's actually pretty consistent in thickness. So on a horse's hoof, the wall at the toe is quite thick, but then it becomes thinner towards the heels. On a donkey hoof, it's actually pretty much consistent from heel round to toe. And then connected to that, number 3, again, as you pick the hoof up and look from the bottom, a donkey hoof is much more U-shaped. Sometimes it even comes out at the heels. So you've got a lot more hoof wall, a lot more hoof going on at the back, and we'll show you these later on. And then fourthly, on a donkey, the sole doesn't exfoliate. So on a horse's hoof, we often see quite a concave shape as you pick the foot up, and that's because as the foot moves, as it expands and contracts, the sole actually works loose and falls out of its own accord. But on a donkey hoof, that doesn't happen. It's all naturally retained, unless it's eaten away by bacteria or by some disease. Unless that happens, it just wears away of its own accord and remains in place. And then fifthly, the frog of a donkey hoof is very noticeably different. It's much further back. It's almost outside of the hoof itself. It's much wider because of that. It's got a lot more room to expand, so it's normally the full width of the hoof. It's much smaller, and it's just much further back. So we'll go down to the donkey sanctuary, we'll take some videos down there and show some of these differences.